Well, hello and welcome to our reading of Iliad, Book 3. And I'm going to do this particularly slowly, especially in the early stages. So I probably won't get through more than about 10 to 12 lines in the first few videos. So we go through it fairly slowly to get used to the language here. So we begin ate epe kosmethen ham hegemones sin hekastoi. Now, autar is a very strong but used to introduce a new section. Our main verb here is kosmethen. And we have to get used to the fact that this, in Homer, this then ending is a shortened form of kosmetheson. So it's aorist passive. I know this looks as though it's singular, third person singular, but in fact it's third person plural. This is a very, very common short form of the aorist passive ending in Homer that can be quite tricky. So this is from the verb kosmio, and the subject here is hekastoi, which is plural here. So it's each group, perhaps one might translate each contingent. So, but when each contingent, kosmetheson or kosmethen, was arrayed, hama, plus the dative here, we've got a dative plural, along with their commanders. And then we get troes men, and we're going to have an extended metaphor until we get down to the hoide, referring to the Achaians further down. And so we get this rather very beautiful and rather powerful extended metaphor comparing the Trojans with these cranes, these birds. So the Trojans, we get a couple of texts here. Now the verb here is isan. This is from Amy Ibo. It would look something like aesan in Attic Greek. It's the imperfect from Amy Ibo. Notice the accent will go. So this is the imperfect from that form of the verb. So the Trojans were going klange te enopete. Klange is an onomatopoetic word, so with a high-pitched sound, with a clang, with a high-pitched noise, and enope is a battle cry. So the Trojans were going with loud-pitched roar and battle cry. Ornithes hos, notice the use of hos here, like birds. Aute, another word for like. Per is emphatic here. Pele is from pelemai. It's often used just like the verb to be. So indeed, the klange, the high-pitched roar, was like that of gerano, of cranes. These are birds. Uranothi pro. Now the prot here, you can see it's got the accent here means it's connected back with the word before, but it's probably being used adverbially here. The uranothi is from uranos, and the ending thit is an old locative. So it's literally in heaven, pro, in front of. So it's a way of saying it's quite an unusual form. It means in the front of heaven, and hence just in the skies. So the noise was like that of cranes, indeed, in the skies, in the heavens. High, who, when, therefore. Fugon is from fugo. This is the aorist without the augment. Another thing you've got to get used to in Homer is past tenses often leave out the augment. So this is an aorist, a strong aorist from fugo. Would be ephugon in Attic, but no augment. who, when they are escaping the Kaimona, the winter, kai athespaton ombron. Athespatos means unspeakable, should not be spoken, but it is used can be used in a temporal sense of unceasing, and that's what it is here. So, and the unceasing rain. So they, when they are escaping the winter and the unceasing rain, tai for high, you get toi for hoy as well. So they get, in fact, don't forget the little particles, peton tai, they fly, klangay, with a high-pitched roar. Epi here in the sense of as far as the streams of ocean. So we get uncontracted, a lot of uncontracted forms here. This is the genitive plural, and this is a genitive. This is the oiot genitive that you get in Homer. In later Greek, the iota disappears and this contracts to give you your normal oo ending for the genitive, but in Homer you're getting these uncontracted forms. So in the so as far as the streams of heaven. Now it's a lovely metaphor here, and it's all tied together with this klangay. So the noise the Trojans are making, the noise of the cranes, and they fly in fact with noise as far as the streams of ocean. Ferusai, participle. The cranes, by the way, of course, are feminine, hence we're getting these ties and feminine participles. So ferusai, bringing, phonon kai kera. Phonon is murder, and kera, well, kera can mean death. It literally is your fate. Your care is your fate in life, what's going to happen to you, but it often has the sense of death. It's the end of your life, and hence death. So bringing murder and death to men who are pygmies. I'll leave you to look up the commentaries on this, on the pygmies, to explain the word and a bit of background. It's a reference here to the war between the cranes and the pygmies, which is mentioned elsewhere in Greek literature. It's mentioned, for example, in Aesop's fables. And Aerei, in the early morning. Now this ara here is, I'll say a little bit about ara and then say no more about it later. It's connected with ararisco, to fit together, and it's sometimes translated accordingly, fittingly. You can over-translate it by as you might expect, as is natural, as is reasonable, as is appropriate. It's often not translated at all, or perhaps some simple word in English for it, but the original sense is that it's accordingly, it's what you'd expect to happen. Now the verb here is proferontai. They launch. And so in the early morn, then, tai for high, they launch evil's strife, eris. And now we get the hoi det with the Achaioi. So that's the end of the extended metaphor here about the Trojans, and the connecting word was klangay through all of this. But the Trojans, now we get this wonderful expression, menia pneontes. This is from pneo, to breathe. So breathing, menos, anger. It's a third declension neuter noun, hence the ending here, uncontracted, of course. So the Achaians breathing anger. Isan, this is again from Amy, Iba, were going in silence. And they, memaontes, this is a slightly fossilized form. There is a verb, mema'a. It must have derived from an original ma'o verb, which doesn't actually exist, and this is just a fossilized perfect form, meaning desiring. This is the participle here from this. So desiring in their heart, alexemen, this is from alexo, to help, and this is the infinitive. That's another little trick to get used to. In Homer, emen is the infinitive ending. Here it's a present infinitive. So desiring in their hearts, alexomen, to give assistance to one another. So we get this wonderful contrast between the Trojans, who are moving along making a huge noise and din and battle cry, compared with the Achaians, who are moving in silence, but they're paneontes menia, they're breathing anger. For those interested in New Testament Greek, you'll see in the Acts of the Apostles, when Paul is, just before Paul's conversion, he's on his way to arrest groups of Christians, and he's very angry with them, and it uses a similar expression, that he's breathing out anger. And so this is quite a strong expression that's come down in right throughout Greek literature and appears even in the Acts of the Apostles. So the Achaeans, breathing anger, they went in silence, desiring in their heart to give assistance to one another, or perhaps to defend one another, to assist one another. And that'll be our first section.